sharing in a second. So my name is Tom Berglie. Welcome so much to the July Austin Adobe User Group meeting. We're going to talk about InDesign today, and a very special project that I've been working on for some time. This is a book or a booklet or whatever, is basically distributed in a binder. You can see here, if this is, I hope this makes it to the recording. This is the old one and the new one. The old one is labeled 2009 and the new one is 2019.
Hold them still, please, so that we can just look at them without them moving.
Yeah, I was trying. I'm not sure if I can.
That's good.
Well, these
That's
are just
perfect. I just want, now that you've explained, I wanted to compare the old one to the new one.
Yeah, because that's one of the interesting things. We added like 50, 70 pages. And they had to increase the spine of the binders in order to be able to let me see here, let me see, screen one. I'm going to share screen one for you. So I'm hoping you can see now my screen. Let me know if you don't, because you should actually see a picture.
We're seeing it well. It's showing the new manual, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what we're going to talk about today. So let me first so I'm going to try to compress this to 1 hour, but I can promise you that the topics we're going to cover here could easily, each one of them, be 1 hour or even a day. So I'm going to try to make this make sense without going into too much detail. Okay, so I hope you can see the web page I'm showing to you right now, because this is the client. This is the people who ordered this book to be updated. It's called the Association for Early Learning Leaders, and it's a part of the, they're associated with National Accreditation Commission. Sorry, I can't even read what's on the screen today. So this is their webpage. It's earlylearningleaders.org. And I did share in the chat pod the actually complete finished document, both for interactive use and for the print version. And I did ask them for permission to do that, and they very graciously granted me the. They thought it was a good idea just to. I mean, I was allowed to do the presentation of the whole process of the project, and also share those files with you. So there's 2 PDFs that you can download there from the chat pod in Zoom, and I'm sure we can make those 2 documents also available to download from our webpage at a later point, because these documents are pretty interesting, I think. So this is just to tell you a little bit about the people who put this out, and it's this book is about 225 pages, single print, single-sided documents. It looks like this. And it's basically a manual for how to get your credentials as an early care professional. I mean, that's caring for children, right? So I'm not an expert in the field at all. But I can tell you that this document and this whole project is very special when you think about InDesign as a graphic design package, because InDesign can handle everything, like colorful publications and all kinds of pictures and photographs and graphics, and posters and what have it, But in this document, there's basically one piece of graphics, and that's the logo there at the top of the page there. And the rest is a structured document that is very text intensive. It's table intensive. It's basically a form. It's basically one 225 pages form that you have to fill in. And I have no idea how long an average person will use to actually complete this preparation process to apply. It's an application form to get those credentials. And of course, this means it had to be very accurate. It's been incredibly updated from the previous version that I showed you briefly here before I started recording my screen. and it's and you know, so this is you know, that was the mission. You know, we need to update this to the new standards that they want the I mean, they want the applicants to document. And I'm just trying now to open up both my PDF files. These are the two PDF files that I actually have shared with you. And on the left side of my screen is the interactive version. And on the right-hand side is the print version that was actually physically printed. And so I have these, of course, that's the spine of the new one that you just saw. And here's the inside matter. And let's see if I can do this a little bit better. I guess I can. Let me just see here. You can see there's a table of contents. There's a lot of text, a lot of information, but then you will get down to those forms again, you know, that you have to print. So a lot of so they're using it both ways now, because that was the crucial part of the whole project, that we needed to also create an interactive version. And on the left-hand side, you see the interactive version. I'm going to go full screen here right now. So you can see, obviously it looks the same and it's supposed to look the same. The contents are 100% identical. And for those reasons, I decided to approach this. I wanted to create the print version and the interactive version in one single file, or one single set of files, that is. I didn't want to have like interactive document over here and the print document over here in InDesign. So whenever there was a change or a correction, I will have to make sure I made the same corrections, you know, twice. That I just decided I will have to find a way to create the print version and the interactive version in one single set of files. And this presentation is going to basically focus on the print version, and I planned a second installment of this presentation that will take place probably sometime this fall, where we're going to build on this and see how you add interactivity on top of that print version of the document. But this is the interactive version. You can see here the basic table of contents over here generated from inside InDesign. You can drill down here and see where do you want to go. You can click. Obviously, it's interactive in the sense that you can click here and hopefully find what you're looking for. You can flip through the documents, and whenever you get to a form, you can fill in the form, right? And you can tab through the form and fill it in, and whenever you press the tab, you can, like was mentioned here before, let me see if I can try to zoom in here a little bit so you can see that I can actually type into these fields. So this is supposed to be dates, and it doesn't really validate dates, but still you can type in here, just press tab and move on. Of course, that tab order, the order in which you actually fill in the different fields in the form, is also possible to control from within InDesign, and that is very important, especially with a huge document like this. One of 100 little things that we did, and I spawned the idea to actually add a separate table of contents for each section of the document, and I had to do that just to keep myself from going insane in this huge document. But then when they saw it, you know, when the clients saw this, they were, oh, why didn't we think of that? We want to keep those extra, you know, the local little, you know, section table of contents in the book, you know, so that's actually part of the printed book and also the interactive book at this point. And it wouldn't be interactive unless you could actually go here, even just click here on, you know, something in the table of contents, whether it's the main one at the front of the whole publication or a local one, and you will jump directly to that point. Of course, here are checkboxes that you can check, you know, so you don't really have to, you know, go and use the physical one unless you really want to. And here are some radio buttons, you know, that are supposed to be mutually exclusive. So when you click one, the other one turns off another, and you know, so that's just some examples of the interactivity that's added to this document. And again, a challenge was to make these fields, make sure that you can press the tab key and really jump to the next correct place. Now, I'm not going to spend too much more time talking about this, but here is actually the validators and observers part of the form. And these parts, believe it or not, they were actually interactive at some point, but then like halfway through the project, creating the interactive version, I was informed that the validators would they will actually not use the interactive form. So I was asked to remove the interactivity from that part of the form. And that's like, oh, it's about 80 to 100 different ones. So, I mean, that's things happen like that, you know, so.
Tom, I have a question.
Yes.
You're talking about moving around, using the tab to go from field to field, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Do these forms have to be accessible to people with disabilities, 501c, what is it, section 508?
That's that is a negative. It was not part of the project.
Mhm.
So
Is
I'm not an
InDesign
expert in the
capable
field.
of accessibility? Can you design specific, these interactive documents and make them accessible?
All I know is that that was not part of this assignment. As far as the form is designed, I think it would not be complicated to make it accessible. But if we need to add a written description to every little checkbox, so it can actually be read out loud what it is, if you can't pick that from the adjoining text.
The adjoining text would do it.
It will be an incredible task to do that. But as it were, I think I have never run this through an accessibility checkup for a PDF. So I have no idea. But that was not part of the, we were not really working on that when we.
Okay, I'm sorry that Cornelius can't be with us this evening since he's an accessibility expert. He might know, because I would assume that something like this needs to be accessible legally. And I'm just, it's interesting that it wasn't part of the project.
Yeah, that might be or may not be, because it depends on who are the potential applicants. And so, yes, I just have to say, I don't know.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Please continue.
And
I know you're tight for time, so I don't want to take up much on this.
No, that's fine. But accessibility is, like you said, Cornelius' domain, sort of. So we could talk about that, but this could be run through like a checkup thing, and we will get a report as to what needs to be done in order to achieve that status. And you see here is there's more forms, and these forms are designed so they could be used interactively or in the print version from the same InDesign document. So I just want to make that 100% clear. So now I'm going to move over to InDesign here, if I can find it. And sometimes a project like this, it's so time consuming, and there's so it requires so much attention to detail. And I actually was going to show you, but I can't, one of those, because I got all the manuscripts in Word, and I don't want to even think about the enormous work that went ahead of this, where they actually go into the actual content, the matter here, and update all those, the requirements for people who are applying for these jobs. That's like that. I'm very grateful. That was not my part of my project, but we didn't have any digital files at all when we started this project, except for the proofread copy that came out of Word, Microsoft Word. Now I was planning to show you one of the documents just to show you what they look like, but my Word crashes every time I try to open it, so I'm not even going to go there. And we probably will have a lot, plenty to talk about anyway. But so I made a few rules for myself. Like I already mentioned, we're going to keep it in one document, or That is one set of documents for every possible version of the book or the manual, but they called it a manual. I was going to use the book function in InDesign, which lets you split parts of a publication into separate files to keep it much more manageable. But the book function will work as a binder to hold them together, so you can synchronize setting across several InDesign documents. I think without that function, I would still go insane when trying to manage this project. I also wanted to automate everything that could possibly be automated. So I'm not a scripter, so I cannot do scripting in InDesign or any other program. I actually lately started doing some Apple scripts, but that's like completely, like a side project. I wouldn't even, try to do it here. Besides, I'm on a Windows computer, so that wouldn't work either. But no, I'm not a programmer or a scripter. And this is important, and I will try to spend a little time later to explain the significance of this. We're going to use styles, paragraph styles and character styles, which if you're not familiar with them, I will explain that later. But even more importantly, why is that so 100% deal breaker to make this project even possible? To base this on a set of paragraph styles. So we have so many different kinds of styles in InDesign, but those are the text. If you're familiar with Microsoft Word, they have both types of styles in there as well, but they work in a kind of a different way. So I would not have completed or even tried to complete this project in Microsoft Word ever. But I was grateful because InDesign is very friendly to Microsoft Word when it comes to importing text from there and in here. So, and using styles as well, try to avoid manual overrides of the styles. You need to try to really stick with what's in the style. And that because of that, I ended up creating a lot more styles than I wanted to get started with this project. I always try to keep the number of styles at a minimum, but in this case, it just grew and grew. And then you have to make sure that all your chapter files always are in sync with the same styles, and that's what we're going to take a look at pretty shortly. But I'm going to try at this point to create a new document just to show the simplicity of the setup process itself. So when you create a new document in InDesign, you of course this is a letter size paper. I'm going to turn off here. If you see what I'm doing at the right-hand side of the screen, I'm turning off facing pages, which means I will not have a left-hand or right-hand, pages, parts of a spread, because these are only printed on one side of the paper. So you will never have a spread. And then to make room for the holes, on the left-hand side, I'm going to have to adjust my margins here. I want to do 1 inch at the top. I want to do, I have some notes here, but of course I don't remember this. I'm going to do 3/4 of an inch at the bottom. And at the left, it's going to be 1.14 inch, to make the left margin bigger to accommodate for the binder. And at the right-hand side, we can do a 1/2 inch margin over there. So this is all it really takes to set up the document. Now, there is a header and footer in this project, which are very important parts of the user interface, if you want. And that's what I'm explaining, because I'm teaching InDesign and graphic design as well. And for young people, to explain what page layout is, it's like creating the user interface for the reader, right? So the headers and the footers in this project are absolutely crucial to help the reader or the applicants to navigate through the whole thing. So, and why do I make these top and bottom margins so big then? Well, because I want the header and footer to be outside of the main part of the, of each page. So I think this should do it for now. I'm just going to click create here, and I should get a document with those characteristics. And you see I have a big top margin over here. I have a pretty big one down here as well. And now what I can do now is to go to my pages panel, and because this is a document page, I can go to what's called a master page, which is like an underlying template for my pages. And I can go in here and I can put some graphics in there. I was not going to show you this this folder, but I'm going to go to this folder. And of course, the graphics, all the graphics in this whole complete document is, I don't even remember which one is the right one. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to place it up here. It's pretty big, so I'm going to shrink it down here a little bit. Let me just do this. And so I have the little logo up there. And if you're familiar with InDesign, you'll probably know that InDesign will create a link to the external file. You can look in the links panel and you'll see here, it will tell you where that document is saved on your computer and everything. And I always keep it like that. I have all my graphics linked to external files to keep the size of the InDesign document small, to begin with. But in this case,
I'd love to ask you a question.
yes,
For
please.
those, if there's anybody here who doesn't use InDesign,
Oh yeah,
but if they used other Adobe products, are basically the controls and the interface very familiar?
Yes,
in
that
terms
is
of how
correct.
you were resizing things, and
Yeah.
if somebody did Control T, could they transform the box, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So I do here, what I do is I keep Shift and Control key depressed.
And that keeps it centered.
That will be Shift and Command key on the Mac. And what it does is basically each key does a different job. The Control key, with the Shift key, makes sure I'm scaling it proportionally so I don't accidentally distort it. And the Control key or the Command key on the Mac will make sure that the contents goes with the. So if I let go of the Shift key and only do the Control key, you see I can totally ruin my graphics over here, which is a lot of people do this. I'm not naming names, but our previous presenter, I mean, he's not talking about, a month ago, for instance, he's not talking about what I'm talking about, but he usually scales graphics disproportionately.
I have a question. If you screw up and you do something to mess up your graphic, is there a good shortcut? Is it Control Z to go back to undo what you did?
You can undo everything in InDesign, but if you really have distorted it and you have moved on, so you don't really want to backtrack, there's actually endless undo levels in this program. If you go here and you see it says undo transform item, you can undo all the way back to when you open the document. Now, if you have distorted your image, you will have to go in here and look at, go inside the graphics. Let me zoom in here. You go inside the graphics, select the contents of the graphics, and you look at the percentages over here at the top. The horizontal and the vertical scaling percentage is listed over here. And if I deliberately change it over here, you see that these two values will be different. And that's when you need to, you can actually create an alert system that will tell you, oh, hey, you have, disproportionately scaled graphics in your document. And you have to go here and just, if you just change any of them, they will go back in sync. And that's interesting, talking so much about graphics when this is actually the only graphics in the whole document, but that's fine. So I'm going to put it up there. There's going to be a running header up here that I'm not going to deal with now. But just for the sake of demonstration here, I'm going to add a text frame over here at the bottom. And you see I'm placing these objects now outside the main text frame of the document. And that is just because I don't want, I want the text to be able to flow from page to page inside that main text frame. I want all my headers and footers and everything to be outside there. I could easily put guidelines and stuff like that to help me position all this stuff in the correct places. But I'm not going to do that right now because this is just a demonstration. Okay. So inside this text frame, I'm going to put, it's called a special character, which is a marker, and it's called the current page number. So this is a long command. It's on the type menu. It's insert special character, markers, current page number. So I will get not a number, but I will get the identifier of this particular master page. And I'm going to align that right over here. And I'm going to make it a little bigger just for the sake of demonstration again. So I'm just going to make it a little bigger here. So we can see it more easily. So of course it's much bigger here than it would ever be in those documents. So I'm working on a master page, and that's one of the automating functions of InDesign that I knew I would have to take advantage of in order to be able to complete this project in InDesign. So you see here, I'm still editing the master page, and I'm going to go here back to my document page here, which is only page 1. See, this document only contains 1 page, but I can add more. You see the new is the new icon in the Adobe world. It's now a square with a plus sign inside of it. It used to be different, but I can just add some pages here. I just click that little, so I'm adding blank pages basically. So if I go back to page 1 and just double click here, what you can see is that the logo is there at the top. I see page number 1 at the bottom right. And if I flip down the pages here, you see I'm now on page 2. You can see that little number here incrementing as I move from one page to the other, and you can see, so this is like the pages panel here on the right is like the map of the world, and over here is the real world, so. And by the way, everything that's on a master page is like protected automatically in the sense that I can, if I try to click here and manipulate this graphics over here, and don't worry about the ruggedness of the way it looks, that's just how InDesign saves computing power for us. I can go here and say, so can you give me a more accurate preview here? I can go here and say, give me high quality preview. And there you see it's not a pixel inside here. So it's really, really good quality of this graphics, but it's just to save a lot of, especially graphics processing power. We usually, just have, save a little bit, save a little energy here. So that's the basics of setting up this document, believe it or not. There's 2 more things we need to do. Of course, we need to create some text styles, and then we need to create some colors, because there are, at least for the cover, we use the colors. So let me just do that super quick. And this is not, and I do apologize that I know I am moving on pretty quickly here, but that's kind of the deal. It's a demonstration. It's a presentation. This is not a course. And by the way, there was one thing I actually wanted to ask all of you, because if you're into InDesign or want to get into InDesign, because I'm going to mention so many functions without being able to go very much in depth on either one of them. But any idea here, anything that we're doing could easily become a topic for a future presentation, and I would love to do it, So if you want to learn more about, like, now we're going to create a paragraph style in a minute, and that's something you want to do all the time when you're working with InDesign, or you want to learn more about master pages, or, we're going to talk about table of contents, automatic running headers, footers, page numbering, you name it. We're going to talk about some. So just make a mental note of it, and say, yeah, can you do a presentation on this or that in the future? And I will be happy to do so.
Okay. Tom, may I interrupt you for a second?
Absolutely.
One, I'd like to encourage everybody to interrupt you and ask questions, or at least give you feedback, since you're proposing things that you might talk about in future meetings, just let us know either through the chat room or by speaking up and interrupting Tom what you're interested in. And I also would like to ask Tom, wherever he's comfortable, taking a very brief intermission from sharing your screen. And if everybody would be kind enough to put your video camera on, I'd like to take a screenshot so that I can show who is attending the Austin Atoby user group. You know, I don't know what it will be used for, but
yeah, that's a very good idea. We can do that at the end, or do you think it's better?
Yeah, if people, the problem is at the end, sometimes people have to leave early, so
I understand. Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be right now, but when you come to a transition point, just say, let's take a brief break, and you can ask people to put their video on, and I'll take a screenshot. I should have thought of it while we were doing our introductory yak. But then again, everybody wasn't there at that time, so.
That's correct. That's good.
And I can also pause the recording while that's going on, so it's not part of the recording, and I'll restart it when you continue. So thank you.
Yeah, sounds great. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just creating 2 samples. I'm not really paying much attention to the actual typography right here. So the easiest way to create a style, and this whole system is based on styles, and I promise I will explain why this project could not have happened without the use of particularly paragraph styles. So paragraph styles are like the main text styling tool that we have in InDesign. Of course, there's a million of them. There's a million settings. We have the character panel over here. We have the paragraphs panel over here. And everything you see here, including all the settings you can access only from the flyout menus of the 2 same little panels and it's actually not even limited to this. So there's even much more, but this is everything. All these settings can be collected and stored and named and put into, the paragraph style panel and to reuse it, and it will make sure that the headlines are consistent across the document. The body text is consistent. You can make sure that if you would need to make a change, you can change the definition of the style, and all the headlines, for instance, will update all through, not actually only through the document, but all the documents in the book in a book. So I'm just going to go super easy here and just see what this looks like. I'm not a fast typer, so I'm just typing stupid stuff. But I think this body text, it's Minion Pro regular 12 point. I want a little bit more. So what am I doing now? I'm just styling this manually, just like I would. I mean, if I didn't want to use styles at all, I would just go ahead and do this and start, using my headline and my and type the real, text in here and whatever. But think about it. And this is there's rhetoric question, but so you come to the next page and you're gonna have a second headline. So let me ask you this: do you want to do that manually all over again, or would you appreciate a way to reuse or repurpose what you already did? And I hope the answer will be yes. We will appreciate a way to let's not do repetitive manual settings all over and over again.
Tom, I'll interject just to offer that I used InDesign to lay out a book that I had written in 2009, and it was an enormous project to do, but it was very much like this, where I needed paragraph styles and section styles so that I didn't have to repeat it, and so that I could be consistent from chapter to chapter. So even though this is an academic book, it applies to any kind of.
That's correct, and also basically every kind of publication, that you do. If you do well, the rule of thumb with InDesign and most other Adobe programs is if you catch yourself doing manual whatever repeatedly, there's always a way to automate it. So in the paragraph styles panel, that's where you store your paragraph styles. And you see, this is like something called basic paragraph. This is the only thing that's there. There is a little plus next to it. That means that it's been added manual styling to it. So again, the easiest way to create a style, I just click inside my headline sample here, and I click that same button down there, the create new button, that creates me a style. It gives me a style. It's called paragraph style 1. I double click it so I can name it. I'm just going to call it headline 1 because there might be, there's multi-level headlines in this document. I'm not going to do anything more except just point to the enormous list of settings here to the left on the screen. So everything you see here, all the settings you can see here are stuff you can save and store inside a style, okay? So I'm just going to click OK, and I have created a style from an example, which is the easiest way on earth to do it. I can even go here and select the body text. It's actually enough to click inside my sample body text over here. And because I'm lazy, I'm going to hold down the Option key this time. And everything that is like lazy in the Adobe world is usually a good thing. So I'm lazy. I don't want to double click like I did just a minute ago to double click to change the name of this style. I just hold down the Option key or Alt key and click the plus, and it opens up the dialog box for me, right? So this is going to be body type, body text. So this is just an example of how easy it is. I'm going to just make sure here, because it's based on an example, as I'm applying this style to the selection and going like this. And of course, if I create a new frame here now, I can type in some text here and I can just apply that headline. And I don't even have to, think about what's the point size or what's that, So this is page 1. Oops, I'm gonna do the headline over there. It didn't stick, but that's good. Got it right now. So anyway, so why? I mean, it's obvious that for productivity reasons and for quality reasons, I mean, like consistency and styling and stuff like that, and of course the creativity part, because it lets me now, if I'm not sure if I'm happy with this particular headline, I can actually I don't even need to have it selected. I could just go in here and redefine my style. If I want to check out a different font for my styles, for my headlines, I can just go here and redefine the style, and it will actually change all through the whole document in one single go.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. So that's the 3 main reasons. Now, it's about time to just add to that list, because you need to use paragraph styles in particular. We have character level styles in addition to this. And you can think about it like this. You have the character panel and the paragraph panel. And everything that is accessible, all the settings in both those panels, including the flyout menus, can be stored in a paragraph style. Both of them. But in a character style, you are limited to the settings that you can access in the character panel itself, and nothing of this over here. So it's obvious that you base the whole system on paragraph styles, and then you can add the functionality of character styles to enhance, it even further. But you use paragraph styles to create automatic header footers. You use it to build and create a table of contents. You use it to create cross references that will actually pick the page number from the reference page. And if you export that to, which is helpful in any kind of textbook where you use references. But if you export it to an interactive PDF, they're also clickable, so you can click the reference and jump to that page, which is also a function used in this document. But anyway, so that's the introduction. So I could go on now and I can save this document. And I will just say, I'm not going to save it in my resume folder. We're all looking for work, aren't we? So let me just call this chapter 1 for simplicity. And of course I can so once I get underway here and get started, of course I need to have chapter 2 and chapter 3 and chapter 4 and everything, So I can save a copy of this and just call it chapter 2. Of course, I have to change something of the contents here, you know, so I can go and, oh, I'm messing it up here. Easiest way to access the contents of a text frame is to double click it, but for some reason that wasn't working. So this is, let's call it section 2 then, because I'm typing in Norwegian here now. You know, Norwegian is weird in the way that we don't use the letter C, like in here. For some reason, we don't like the letter C because it's pronounced either like an S or a K, right? So for some reason, we used an S or an K instead, you know, so.
Tom,
So
may I remind you of a couple of things? One, which is that you've been going for 40 minutes, and if you want to keep it to an hour, you're running out of time. And also, would you please give us a break so that we can take that picture whenever it's a good time? I thought maybe between chapter 1 and 2.
I'm not going to digress and talk about the, but it will be like this.
Okay.
Because I know I'm digressing all the time. So let's just break here, and you might want to.
Okay, I'll pause the recording.
And then just take that picture real quick. Yeah, let me see. So I'm sharing screen 1. Can you see this? Can you see me now?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're just going to continue. I had a little break there. So I'm going to close this now. So I was going to build a book for you, but I'm not going to do that because I already have the book document created for the manual already. So we're going to move on to the actual production files at this point. And did InDesign crash on me? No, it didn't.
And I have some general questions to ask you. How long did you work on this project for?
Oh, I don't have an exact number of hours.
Was it months, years?
It was months. It was months.
And were you the only person working on it?
Yes. There was a team of 2. Well, we had like 1 liaison over there at their office here in Austin. And we kept the communication very direct. She did all the in-house evaluation over there and reported, which is an awesome way to work because she could coordinate everything. So instead of me getting feedback from 2, 3, or 4 different people at the clients.
It's so important to have 1 liaison with the client, exactly. Not 5 of them.
So, and that was awesome. And of course, they were very particular and I mean, rightfully so, about getting everything correct down to the tiniest little detail in here. So,
questions.
What
kind of file did they provide you? I mean, because if it's 10 years old or you know what I mean, like.
No, they didn't have any digital copies whatsoever from the old book. So they started typing everything in Microsoft Word. Yeah.
And what about styles? Did they provide you anything like that?
They used styles. There were different authors, and I was not involved in the setting up of sometimes I do provide my clients with a Word template that is optimized for transfer to InDesign.
Okay.
But in this case, I had to pay attention to each individual file and just do the importing like a little bit. But they did a great job. They were, the good thing is that they were consistent about almost everything in their documents. The thing that they were not consistent about, and I never really gave them any feedback because I already had all the documents, is I'm not sure if you're familiar with the difference between a new paragraph and a new line. If a new paragraph is a new paragraph, whereas if you hold the Shift key and press Enter, you will just get a line
space.
And they were, and in InDesign, which is so much based on the use of paragraph styles, so I had to do a lot of manual. I do a lot of search replays and a lot of manual actually turning those soft return things into real paragraph breaks. But if this was like like a yearly publication, I would spend some time and discuss this with the client. But in this case, I got the files and it was like a done deal basically. So I didn't really spend any more time on it. So here's the book panel. And a book is very simple. It doesn't do much except what you can see here. It lists a number of pre-existing InDesign documents. You have to create the document. They might easily be empty. You don't need any contents in them. You know, the documents that I created before, and I was going to, you know, just save as and create a few more and just put them together in the document. But of course, that will take too much time. So let's just move on with this one. This is the real, actual book document. And remember, every file that's listed here is a regular and could easily be a freestanding InDesign document that doesn't really, you know, that doesn't have to belong to a book. So I don't have to open these documents through the book panel. I can open, you see that little warning, little alert I get over here? I'm not sure if you can read that little tool tip that pops up there, but it says this document has been modified outside of the book. So it will tell me, and somebody could have added pages to it or changed it or whatever, but it just alerts me to that. So the easiest way to check it is to just double click it over here, and it will open up that document, and I can take a look at it and see if I see any changes that I don't like. Or I can just save it and close it. Saving it and closing it will normally, you know, remove that alert, because now it's happy with, you know, the timestamp on the last modification and, you know, what's recorded in the book document are the same. So, and you might have seen those little black dots there that that appear next to the document. That means that they are open on my computer. If you're working on a shared file server, you can easily access different chapters of a book you're working, you know, from different workstations. And then there will be a different symbol here, and you will be able to find out who is working on this particular chapter at this point. It's awesome for teamwork, obviously. And it could be a reason to try to, oh, what was I about to say? Oh yeah, that could be a reason in itself to split a long document into several different parts, because you want to, you know, I want my colleague here to work on chapter 1 while I'm working on chapter 2, even if it's a smaller publication, you know. So you can split, because you can still not work on the same document in real time in InDesign. Anyway, so you see here that in every document it starts with a little table of contents. That's like the local table of contents. And how do we create a table of contents? Well, if you're not using styles, you can't do anything. You can't do it at all. But what you do here is, and if I click inside of it, Cornelius, who's not here today, he will be the first to tell you that you need to select to effect when you work with computers. So the reason you need to click inside the table of contents before you can, you know, see how it has been built, or of course you don't have to do that to create it in the first place, but if I want to see the settings for this document, I will have to click inside of it. And the reason is that it's perfectly fine to have more than one table of contents in the same document. And it's so versatile, you can build all kinds of lists with it. So I'm going to click inside the table of contents. I'm going to go up here and select table of contents from the layout menu. And you will see here, if we backtrack just a moment, I'm going to leave this dialog box open, but you see I also have my paragraph styles panel open over here. And alas, I really do encourage people to try to limit their number of paragraph styles, because you will get confused and you will confuse yourself. So the naming of the styles and I'm going to cancel out of here anyway, because this needs to be addressed before we go in and talk to it. So if you see over here in the paragraph styles panel is a pretty extensive list. And you can create folders to keep your styles organized, you know. So all the styles that are only used for table of contents, for instance, the TOC styles, I put in a folder and started the name of the folder with an X, so it'll be automatically become at the bottom, you know, be placed at the bottom of this list. The main styles are here, but all the other ones are special styles that are used just for the standards pages are in this folder. And all the styles that are reserved to use along with table styles are in this folder. And this is the way I could, you know, try to avoid complete chaos in my head and in the documents. What's more important is that you can go here when you modify one style, that will only be modified in this particular document. And that's when you go in here, you see that little symbol. There's a list of all the documents in the book here, and there's a little symbol over here. And if I hover over it, it says it will indicate the style source. And I can select any document as the style source. And I'm not going to do this now because I might ruin everything if I do it wrong. But if I select this style as the style source, I can go in here and synchronize book. And I can go in here and pick and choose what do I want to synchronize across all my documents. You know, it is so freaking cool. And I know through this whole project, every time I had to make a necessary change in one document, I immediately went over and synchronized those changes so they were always present in the other documents. It became like second nature because you don't want those styles to be out of sync. But you can pick and choose here, you know, what do you want to, do you want to sync only the character styles, paragraph styles, whatever. I'm not going to click synchronize now because I basically don't know what the result will be. So that's one thing. Another thing is that if I click inside what's created here, you see that the applied styles will be highlighted in the paragraph styles panel. So in the table of contents, you see that to style the TOC itself, I use those TOC styles. So let me just move on. There's basically only 2 or 3 little things I really need to point out to you, so I'm happy with my presentation. And that is what I was just about to do. I'm going to go now and go back to the layout table of contents dialog box. And so once we've covered a little bit about the styles themselves, you see here that what you do here is basically build, you decide here which styles are going to be, you know, part of this table of contents, you know. So I want my heading 1, and then if there's standards in there, you know, some chapters do have standards and some don't, so they should also be in there. And also the table headings. And they are all here at the first level. You see, all these guys should be, you know, put at the first level of the table of contents, right? And then I can just go down here and see the heading 2 and the heading 2 so-and-so should all be displayed as the level 2. And if there's something missing, the rest of the styles are listed over here, and I can select the style and move it over to the include list or not. And over here, to keep it very, very simple, for the heading 1, I want that to be styled with the TOC heading 1, you know, so there's a system to this. And for heading 2, I want that to be styled with the TOC heading 2. So I'm not going to recreate the table of contents right now, but you see here how it works. You know, you see the headlines here, the page numbers. So if I go out here and take a look at page 88, you see that this is the style. This is a text that it looks for, because this is looking for any text that is styled with heading 1. And when it encounters it, it will include that text in the table of contents together with the number, the page number. So that's one typical use of paragraph styles that goes pretty much beyond all the other advantages of using paragraph styles. And the second thing is what you see over here, which is another thing I added to the equation here. We didn't have running headers in the previous book from 2009. But I wanted, and again, it started for me like, this is something I need so I know exactly where I'm at any given point. But of course, that was actually a suggestion from my part to include in the book as well, because this is part of the user interface that will, I mean, think about this. If you really have the ambition to be certified here, you need to spend a lot of time with this document and flipping back and forth and just looking at a page and not really, it's not visual. What part of the book am I using right now? I'm working on right now. So that's why I wanted both the section number and the actual, and you see here that this text, instructions for use in classroom observation, is actually repeated up there, okay? So what if I change this thing, you know? Oh, nothing happens. Well, the reason is that InDesign doesn't continuously check for changes because that will take too much computing power. If I zoom in or out or do anything to redraw the screen, you see that it updated. You see this text updated now? See if I'm going to see if we're using Austin Adobe User Group instead over here. And again, it doesn't change, and I think we should be happy for that, because if this was supposed to update totally automatically, InDesign will have to do nothing else but check for those kind of changes. But if I zoom in or out, or you can move to a different page or back, you see that text changed over there. It's just picking this one and putting it up there. And the other one, the classroom observation part of it, is from this part. If I say classroom music, and I go back here, just need to deselect. You see that this updates automatically. This is using, you know, I told you initially I will use any means possible to automate anything that could be automated. Now this function is called, it's a text function, is called text variables. Is a very powerful function. It can be used for many, many different purposes, but you can do type text variables, and you see there's all kinds of predefined types of them that you can create here. Chapter number, you can add stuff like creation date, and I mean, it's all kinds of stuff here. But I have created different ones. I have running header, headline, section, standard, and table. So, and I even needed one standard continued, but that was added at a very late moment, and I could explain that, but you know, that will be going too much into detail. But if we take a look at it here, I can click edit, and you see it's so simple when you think about it, but it's such a powerful function. I should have moved this one out of the way. Wait a minute, so you can see everything at once. So I'm going to add it here, and you see here you have the paragraph, list of paragraph styles over here. You have the list of text variables. Some of them are, you know, shipping with InDesign. Some of them I created after, you know, as I needed them. So here's the running header headline, and the type is running header paragraph style. I'm going to look for a paragraph style, you know, that's all I need. And what's the name of it again? Oh, it's called heading 1. Yeah. So, and then the next question is, okay, so if there's more than one headline on the page, do you want the first one we find, or do you want the last one, which are the only options? So if there's like a list of names that spans several pages, you can actually create 2 variables, and you can create a header, automatic header on the page that will say that this is from, you know, all the names on this page are spanning from Berglie to, you know, Charles or something. So by creating one with the first on page and one with the last on page. So this is the creation of the text variables. That's all there's to it. And there's an example down here. It says running header headline. That's what it will look like on a master page. And now I'm going to go back to my master pages here, because you will see, oh, I'm still in a dialog box here. I'm not going to change anything more here. I'm glad I duplicated all these files for demonstration purposes, because I'm really messing it up here. But if I go back to my pages panel, you will see that in this document, in the actual documents, there's an A master, There's a T for table page, and then there's an S for standards pages. I managed to keep the number of master pages at a low level, thank goodness, even though the number of paragraph styles just exploded here when I was working through this document. But if I go to my A master, I'm going to zoom out here so you see the whole page. And you will see, this is what happens when you actually add those text variables to the page. On the master page, just like it's not able to display the page number because it's not a real page, it's a master page. It will only display the names of the different, and you place them here. You just go here and you say type text variable, insert variable, and here's a list of all the ones you have, so if I want a different one, I can just do a different one. So there you go, and you style it just like you would any other text. You can use the character panel. It's 8 points, Myriad Pro bold. There's a little gray color to it, so it's not like the super, there's a little toned down a little bit. I have just a couple of spaces here and a vertical bar and everything. It's just, you just have to, put it in there. So if I go back to my, and by the way, you will see that these little page miniatures in the pages panel, I'm talking about the document pages here now, that you see that these guys have a little A on top of them, right? You see, I hope you see it, A master applied. And then on page 91 here, you see that it has a little S applied to it. So and you see the first letter in the names of the master pages, A master, T table page, S standards page. So if I go here to double click page 89, you will see that that has actually a standard A master applied to it. So we will use these, crazy little things over here. If I go to an S page, like 91 here, you will see that it's built up a little bit different, but it's picking from different paragraph styles. So, and I'm not sure if there's any table pages in here. I don't think there is, but that's fairly easy to do. And I can apply if I want to apply a different master page to this page, I can drag, say, A master down here and just drop it on top. And you see that it actually changes now. Now it's picking the main title of this document and the other title that was connected to that regular page. But if I want to go back, this is a standards page. So I hope you get the drift of this, because I cannot really dig any deeper into it at this point. But without these functions, I would, I'm not even sure if I would have wanted running headers like this if I had to do it manually, and it will drive anybody crazy who will try to do anything like this. All right, so for the next installment, we're going to talk about tables. So I left tables out of this presentation altogether, but of course there are, as you can see, lots of tables here using the table function in InDesign. To create these lines here manageable, I used a very special technique that created, I got a little flexibility into it here, into it, because you see they're not the same height. So I created like a repository document, a document with all these tables already set up, so I could copy them from there and paste them in here. And you see they're all varying in height. They decided that it had to be minimum 2 lines to write in both of these fields, which makes some of them small. And if it wasn't room to fit like 2 lines, see if I get to a page like that, it will have to go to the next page and fill the whole page. Of course, I can't find one when I need one. Doesn't matter. I can see here if I see a little one. Doesn't really matter, but there's a lot of them. So anyway, so you will see that if you flip through that PDF file again. And what's more, yeah, we talk about table of contents, table styles, and synchronizing styles. And I think the only thing that really remains now, and I hope you understand, and I know this is not teaching, I'm not aiming to teach you how to do this. My mission was basically to show you a totally different side of InDesign that a lot of people don't really encounter, because you work with like a poster, like very flashy magazines. You might use running, like little page numbering and stuff like that, pagination. But I just want to point out here that I had to create a second level of numbering here using a completely different function in the program, because all these different letters, these are the E standards and all the other ones, they needed special separate page numbering that is separate from everything else. I used to accomplish it. It's very simple. Is a special paragraph style to accompany, to create that. You see down here, there's a master pages style section here. So each section has a different masters section. This is for, this section, the CO section, you have the AR section, and you have so you have all these different sections, but you can create that using paragraph numbering in InDesign. I had to think about that. I had to sleep on that, but I found a way so I didn't have to do that manually either. If I may wrap it up with one single thing that will be when everything is approved, and well, even during the proofing section, the proofing phase of all this, which of course took quite a while. You need to send the whole document, the whole PDF over to the client, right? You can do individual chapters, or you can do the whole thing. So this is going to be my last little fun thing to do with InDesign. I can, if we're working particularly on section 4, classroom observation, I can select that, or maybe even surveys. Okay, these are the ones we've been working on this week. So we go over here and you say export selected documents to PDF, right? Which is a wonderful function. If you just want to export one single document, you don't even have to use the book panel. You can just do it the regular way, right? But the cool thing is that if you do not select any documents, you can go here and do export the whole book to PDF, which is, it's just the icing on the cake here, So I'm going to add demo here to my file. I'm going to put it on because I don't want it with my resumes over there. So I'm going to put it on the desktop, and and here you choose, do you want to create an interactive PDF, or do you want to create a print PDF? So we've been talking about the print version here, and I click save, and then you will get the export to print PDF dialog box, which has an incredible amount of settings that I'm not going to even talk about right now. But if you chose the other option, the export to interactive PDF, you will get a completely different dialog box, which will give you completely different options, particularly aimed at the interactivity functionalities or functions. I can still include bookmarks, hyperlinks, and stuff here if I want, but this is you need to talk to the print shop. What kind of format do they want? This is a very safe one. And you just click export, and then it starts exporting the whole thing. It will go through all the documents, and you might actually at some point in the process get an error message, because it does live error checking. It doesn't do the error checking up front. So, and you see it's opening document so-and-so. Those documents that are not open will be opened in the background and processed and output. And And by the way, I didn't mention that specifically, but I think it was implicit in what I said. You see the page numbers are listed over here in the book panel over here, and you will see that the last page of one document matches with the first page of the following document, and that is also one thing that InDesign is taking care of, right? What happened here that in both section 3 and 4 we had to add a lot of actually 4 and 3 and 4 actually. We had to add a lot of pages because of those tables that suddenly had to span like an extra page. And it's so wonderful when you just do that, and you know that all the subsequent sections of the book will be automatically repaginated. And not only that, every reference from here, read more on page so-and-so, section so-and-so, all of those will also be automatically updated. And there is even a command on the fly-up menu of the book panel that will say, see, now it's actually getting to the actual export of this whole thing. And at this point, you might get an error message that will halt the process, but normally it will give you an option to ignore it and just keep going. One typical thing is overset text, that there's more text in a frame that fits in a page. Fits in a text frame, which is a very serious error message. And you should never print anything that when you get that message. But to say that if this was just for a visual check or for proof, send proof to the client, you might as well, you might probably want to go ahead and continue the process anyway. So here it is. That was an option in that dialog box I didn't talk to, but it's not checked by default, but you always check it and it will remember. And that is open the finished PDF when it's done, right? Open it when it's done, so you can know that it's done. So this is the only pages that are printed in color. Of course, the front little thing you put there at the front of the binder. And then this is the spine thing, and here's the inside of everything. And of course, here's the table of contents is not interactive. There's no bookmarks over here, or shouldn't be. There's no bookmarks here because the print shop doesn't need those. But if I go back to wherever I was, where I messed up those chapters, there should be, I don't remember what page it was, but it was section E, so I should probably be able to find it in here somewhere. But you see how it looks? It's a perfect print document, no interactivity here, nothing to click or anything. This is meant for, if you sign up for this thing, they will send you this binder, in the mail, and you will start working on it. But you will also get an option to do it and using the interactive form, which I think you can just go to their webpage and download it, as far as I know. That's was the purpose anyway. So you don't need any particular purpose. This is not secret. This is secret classroom music is now in the book. I'm not going to send this to the client. Instructions for using Adobe User Group, not very interesting to a lot of people. But you see, this is so cool. And I could just go back here and create an interactive version directly from the same document, doing the same thing. And by the way, if the numbers are out of sync here for any reason, I can even go here and do update numbering. And there's a command here. My advice is always, to myself, before I choose this command, I back up the whole book, all documents in the book. But you can do update all numbers. It will update, it will force update page numbering, section numbering, cross references, read more on page 222. If that has changed for some reason to 223, you just make sure that everything will be updated. So obviously before you hand this over, you do this command, but I always create a backup. And by the way, let me finish on that note. Actually, I'm going to go here and see if I can find my folder here. If you see here, the backup folder, this is I always keep the latest actual work document here at the top level. And these are the individual InDesign document. I could open them from here, just double clicking, just like we did with like in the book panel, but I can open them here. I don't even have to open up the book panel and look at the book document itself. It's tiny, you know, that's this little thing, 96 kilobytes. So it's just like a list of documents basically, you know, and the dates for the modification, you know, each document modification. But in the backup folder, and these are not nearly all my folders, not nearly, this is just a small subset of them, but you see before rebuilding book, before final touch-up, before client feedback updates, you know, and in here is a absolutely complete, totally complete, because, you know, if you one single time have, you know, missed to create that backup and you do something not, look here, before regenerating main table of contents, you know. So there you go. It's disk space is cheap, but you know, if you have to go backtrack like what you did last week and the week before, just because you know, messed up some, especially that synchronization, you know, of styles, because you cannot unsynchronize in here. If you synchronize the book, that's one of the things that where you do not have an undo option in InDesign. And I can tell you why, because in the undo function only works with open documents. So as soon as you close a document, you delete the undo history, right? But let's say everything I did now, like this command I just chose over here, you know, update all the numbers. It did actually update all the numbers in all those documents. So what it does is to open the document in the background, check all numbers, update if necessary, and save and close that document. So there is no undo. So that's why the undo, the ultimate undo, will be in these backup folders, you know. So there you go. And you see from the dates here that latest updates was actually from January this year. And I offered them to change the date to, like, do you still want to call it 2019? Don't you want to call it 2021 or something? Oh, no. It was very important, and don't ask me why, to keep that number, because I think they have been waiting for the 2019 version of this book for a long time. It was like it was something that everybody was, you know, dying to get. And we made one crucial deadline for a big conference somewhere, and they had the printed version to that conference early 2020, and everybody was happy. So, oh man, I'm talking and talking. Thank you so much for your patience.
This has
Really
been
do
terrific,
appreciate
Tom.
it.
I have one question for you to wrap up the meeting with.
Absolutely.
Could you please share with us how you came to get this job?
Yes, I was working at, or I was renting a table, like a desk at the Orange co-working space in South Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the cool things for freelancer to work in that environment, unfortunately, they closed. I mean, they closed the day COVID came in March last year. They, you know, from one day to the other, there was nobody there, right? It was crazy.
It was a big place.
Yeah, it was a wonderful place. But, you know, there's so many different people. There were coaches, there were lawyers, there were, you know, accountants, and you could just, for a reasonable price, you can get access to all the equipment. And what happened here was that one guy was working on, you know, and the deal is that you just do you do the low-key marketing. It's like at the lunch table, you get to know people and what they're doing and specializing in and stuff like that. And this guy was actually hired to do their webpage. You know, remember I showed you their webpage over here? And then he overheard that they were looking for somebody to update that printed manual, you know. And he is probably still, I haven't even followed up on that. They're going to create they are working on like an HTML version of the whole book, which is a brilliant idea, but then it won't be in sync with the printed one. So, I mean, it's a big challenge. But this guy just mentioned to me, is that something you could do? And of course, without even thinking, I said, of course I can. and I mean, that's long story short.
That's great.
One meeting, and in the meeting, I got to see this this previous version, you know, that I was well, probably can't even see. I mean, the old one, the 2009 one. That's the first time I saw the page, I saw the tables, what it's gonna look like, and my head just started, you know, thinking very, very fast. How can I do this? Oh yes, I can definitely do this in InDesign, and I can make great improvements to it compared to the old one. And then, of course, the crucial thing was we want an interactive version of it at the same time. And I said, of course, that yes, I can do that, but it took a little, you know, little headaches to get that to work. But I was confident that I will make it work. And by the way, you can do halfway interactivity in InDesign, and you can tailor it in Acrobat Pro after the fact. And that was on my list here, things I was trying to avoid to do. I knew there had to be some tweaking in Acrobat, you know, before I can create that document that they could actually give to their clients or applicants. But you have to keep that to absolutely minimum, because, you know, think about how many times we created that interactive PDF. And if there was like a long list of things you had to do every time, that was actually, so we had to rely on InDesign's interactivity functions more than those that are built into Acrobat, which are much bigger, much more functions. But yeah, no, it turned out really well. They're super happy, and I was very grateful that they actually let me use it now without any restraints. Share the documents, tell the story. You know, this is open information for everyone. And I'm pretty sure that if you flip through their webpage here, you will probably find that PDF for download somewhere. I would be surprised if you didn't, but it's not like they're marketing it. It's just the availability of it, you know. So.
Well, Tom, would you wrap up the meeting by announcing what will be on our September program? Do we have anything chosen?
No, that's a big surprise party, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't want, it's not my first choice, but of course the second installment of this presentation is basically ready to go. I could just talk for another hour, you know. Well, but we'd like to vary a little bit. So I was thinking something more visual, in the sense of more like, I'm going to see if we can do some video editing stuff. That's always cool. Unless you have any wishes or requests or ideas, we're always welcome. I have not had time to talk to any presenters yet regarding that meeting, and we will, by then, I hope we will get to maybe brushed up our webpage a little bit and get these marketing channels we've been talking about going a little bit more, but it's 2 months
till then. We're gonna have to get started on that.
Yeah.
Okay, and if anybody here would like to give a presentation on any Adobe product, app, please speak up, let us know, send us an email, or go to the website to contact us, austinadobeusergroup.com.
Did I just stop sharing because that was what I was trying to do?
Yes, you did.
Thank you so much. All right. So I hope you got something out of this. It's an incredible amount of information, I know, but I wanted to include, like you noticed, like a little bit of the basics just at the beginning, how you can start. The huge document also starts with those small steps, setting up the document, and then we just rushed on through the whole thing.
Thank you so much. If anybody wants to unmute and talk, now's the time.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's great. Very impressive.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And see you all in September. I'm going to stop the recording.
Will I see you?
Yeah.
Please.
Let's there are plenty of September songs, isn't there?